various ways to do it, from phone calls to emails to letters. It's all described in the agenda. So go to cityofwoodland.org, bring up the agenda for the meeting if you want to learn how to call in or participate in our meeting. Thank you. We will now, again, we've called the meeting to order. We're going to proceed to a ceremonial oath of office for our new council member, Tanya Garcia Cadena. Madam Clerk, are you prepared to swear in our newest member of the Woodland City Council?
Mayor Stallard, Tanya has asked her husband to do the ceremonial swearing in.
Well, that's just wonderful. Ray, let's share screen and get Ray in there too. All right. I usually see Ray performing music, so we're going to have him put his hand in a new place tonight, and let's hold it up so he can swear in his wife, Tanya. Please proceed, Ray.
Please say aye, state your name, and repeat after me.
I, Tanya Garcia Cadena,
do solemnly swear
that
I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States
the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California
and the Constitution of the State of California
against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
that I will bear true, faith, and allegiance.
That I will bear true faith and allegiance
to the Constitution of the United States
to the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California.
and the Constitution of the State of California.
That I take this obligation freely
That I take this obligation freely
without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion. And that I will well and faithfully discharge the duties upon which I am about to enter.
Well, congratulations, Tanya. Thank you, Ray. We're all delighted to have you on board, and I'd like to invite each of my colleagues to say a few remarks should they care to, and I'll start with Council Member Rich Landsberg. Rich?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and welcome, Tanya, to your very first council meeting. I look forward to collaborating with you as we work to improve our city and find ways to make this a better place to live, work, and play. I look forward to your ideas and getting those ideas going. But just a side note, Tanya, who knew that two neighbors on Sacramento Street in the little town of Yolo, both who rented from former Mayor Buster Giovannetti in the early 1960s, would each produce a grandchild on the Woodland City Council today? My grandmother, Frances Garcia, and your grandparents, Epitacia and Jose Garcia, would be proud of you today for what you accomplished. Welcome to the council.
Thank you. Thank you, Councilmember Landsberg.
Thank you so much. And Council Member Vicky Fernandez, would you like to extend your greeting?
Well, Tanya, nice to see you again, and congratulations. I look forward to working with you on the City Council, and you come highly recommended by many community members who were advocating for your appointment, and I'm sure that you'll continue to serve the residents of Woodland as you have throughout your entire career and life here in Woodland. So from also a native of Woodland, congratulations, and I wish you well, and congratulations to your family. And I realize you have lots of family in Woodland, so congratulations to all of them and good luck.
Thank you, Councilmember Fernandez.
Thank you, Vicky. Councilmember Vega.
Hi, Tanya, welcome. It's so great to see you here. Congratulations. I have to say, while I wasn't born and raised here in Woodland as a newcomer, Tanya Garcia Cadena is a force to be reckoned with. And I have known of you and all the work that you've done for as long as I've been here. I'm really looking forward to working together to continue to improve the quality of life of all the folks who live here in Woodland and any newcomers. So thank you so much for taking on the challenge to serve, and I'm looking forward to working together.
Thank you, Councilmember Vega.
Thank you, Myra. And for myself, I just want to say how happy I am to have Tanya joining our council. I believe that the residents of the 3rd District will be very well served by having her as their council person. I also want to say that I think collectively we're going to be a better council because you're now one of us. And we welcome you and look forward to you. And as Rich said, your ideas will be so welcome, and your perspective and your experience, all of which commended you to us in making our decisions. So welcome on board, and congratulations to all the Cadena family. And thank you again, Ray.
Thank you. Thank you. We appreciate that.
We all clap, even though we're doing it electronically. All right. Thank you. Do you have any additional remarks before we proceed with our agenda?
Oh, well, I would like to thank you and the council members for the appointment. And I'm very honored to be serving District 3 in this seat, and I look forward to working with all of you.
Very good. All right, well, speaking of work, let's get right to it. We're now ready to proceed into the roll call, and we invite our clerk, Ana Gonzalez, to call the roll, please.
Thank you. Mayor Pro Tem Vega.
Present.
Councilmember Fernandez.
Present.
Councilmember Garcia Cadena.
Present.
Councilmember Landsberg.
Present.
And Mayor Stollard.
Present.
Thank you.
We're all here tonight, and to lead the Pledge of Allegiance, why don't we invite our newest member to join us and lead the pledge. Tanya.
Okay. Let's see. I don't know how to stand and do that. I pledge allegiance
Pledge allegiance to the flag,
of the
United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands,
one
nation under God,
indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Council Member Garcia Cadena. And let us now move along then to communications from the public. Madam Clerk, are there any public comments to be shared with the council this evening?
No, we have none.
All right, that allows us to move along to communications. And I'll start with Council Member Landsberg. Any communications tonight?
Just a couple. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I appreciate the opportunity. Just as a reminder for those that are new to the council, we do have a new shelter over on East Beamer. And if you haven't been there, I invite you to go check it out. On January 21st, I joined our mayor and our city manager at the new shelter for a little tour on East Beamer Way. It was good to see the facility up and running. Because of COVID conditions, the facility cannot be used to its fullest extent just yet, but someday that's going to happen. I was impressed with the openness of the campus and the room the clients have to use the entire campus while they're there. Many folks that are staying there are using the wide area to take walks, nature walks, out there in the East Beamer area. At the same time, we were also able to listen to their needs, and thankfully, with the help of city staff, including our city manager, we were able to fulfill some of those needs immediately, including mobile book racks and books, as well as a bike rack. And they still have further needs, and we're going to keep working on those to keep those folks operating well. Overall, the visit was quite enjoyable. And again, I welcome all of you to take a visit out there.
Thank you.
The January 27th meeting of the Housing Authority was canceled and postponed because of the ongoing weather conditions that we had last Wednesday. I believe a lot of things were canceled last Wednesday and last Thursday. That's all I have, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Council Member Landsberg. Council Member Fernandez.
Good evening, and thank you. I attended quite a few different activities this last couple of weeks, but first of all, I'd like to say happy Groundhog's Day. And I'd like to thank all our city staff for all your work this last week with that major storm that came through Woodland. I know you've all been busy working. Thank you, Ken, for your direction and support. And thank you to the Woodland residents for your patience and understanding. I know many of you were without power and service for a few days. I know that that was pretty challenging. So I thank you for your patience. And I don't think that we were anticipating so many trees to come down and so many residents to be without power. So I hope that you understand that it was something that our city was definitely working hard to make sure that service was back on for you. Also attended the new council member academy through the California League of California Cities with council member Mayor Pro Tem Vega virtually. Very informative and very helpful. Enjoyed the last 2 Thursdays and Fridays attending the academy, and I'm thankful that we had that opportunity to attend. Lots of great ideas to hopefully implement within our city, within the city of Woodland. Also, I attended the Yellow Habitat Conservancy on Monday the 25th, and this last Monday attended the Woodland Library board meeting. So just want to let residents know that the city library is available. They're making appointments, 10 appointments per hour. If you would like to go in, they provided a virtual tour, and they purchased several new shelves, and they gave us a little overview of the shelves that they put in. So thank you to Woodland residents for supporting our library, and for Measure R and Measure J, which are helping fund a lot of the programs that we have at the library. They're continuing to provide curbside pickup if you need that during COVID, and they're still busy working, providing virtual presentations and story time for our residents. One of the questions or concerns that was brought up was, I think they have a teen librarian opening that they're hoping to have posted soon. So maybe if we can give them some feedback on that, that would be appreciated. They're not sure about when the timeline for that posting will be, but they're anxious to have a teen librarian beginning out there at the city library. And they're having a paint night offered all in Spanish coming up on within the library. So si hablan español y quieren atender una noche de pintura y quieren ser artistas, están ofreciendo un programa completamente en español. So thank you to the library for thinking about our residents who are Spanish speaking and providing that service. Read Across America is coming up, and they're looking for volunteers. Beamer School would love someone who would be interested in reading in Spanish to their students, English or Spanish. So just a heads up, March 2nd or 3rd, they'll be doing a Read Across America throughout our district. And so council members, I'm sure if you reach out to one of our schools, they would be more than happy to have you do a virtual reading or participate in their Read Across America. And I think that's it for now, and looking forward to our tour on February 5th of Public Works and our Community Development Center community services. And they're also doing Woodland Rights, promoting making Valentine's and reaching out to our seniors. So if you're homebound and would like a little loving your Valentine's from local residents, make sure to reach out to our Woodland Community Department, and they're providing Meals on Wheels. With Meals on Wheels support, they're going to put out some Valentine's. So if anyone would like to make Valentine's for our residents, or if you would like to receive one, make sure to look into that with our Community Development Department. So I think that's it for now, and thank you again.
Thank you, Council Member Fernandez. And I think you meant the Community Services Department.
I think I've changed it a couple of times, sorry.
Okay.
Sorry.
No worries. Mayor Pro Tem Vega.
Sure. Thank you, Mayor Stallard. So I just wanted to send a shout out to all of the crews that were out throughout the night during the storms, cleaning up the fallen trees. One of the things that I had talked with Ken about was just the need and of folks within the community for resources. And I was really, really happy to see how many different nonprofits we have in the area that have the capacity and are serving our communities during their time of critical emergency needs. So a food bank who was able to provide resources. So it just really makes me proud to have our community and our nonprofits come together during these times of crisis. I also wanted to just acknowledge that during these times of crisis, having a quick way to get a hold of all of the resources that are available is imperative. So that certainly came up as something that would have been very handy to have and share with folks that did reach out to myself. Just a look back, I attended a listening session that United Way put on. So this was as part of an assets-based community development plan that they have. And I got the opportunity to listen with a lot of young folks who live here in Woodland to build an inventory of all of the great assets that we have within our community. And again, here, it was just really overwhelming to hear about all the great programs that we have here in our community to support our youth. So I'm really looking forward to see that community development process flesh out and see some great outcomes implemented. I also wanted just a quick reminder to folks, the Woodland Tech Park community outreach meetings are scheduled. There are notices that are out on our website in English and Spanish. Please attend. This is open to all of the folks within our community to learn more about this project. And please bring any questions, send any questions in advance so we can get those answered. I participated in the Greater Sacramento Economic Council Champions Program. I was really happy to see how as a region, they're providing support for local economic development. So that was a great experience. I learned a lot, looking forward to seeing the results of their efforts here being implemented in our local community. That's all I'll have for today. Thank you, Mayor Stallard.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem Vega. For myself, first item, I would just like to say vaccination, vaccination, vaccination. If you get an opportunity to get the jab, as they say, go for it. The New York Times mentioned, don't wait around for Pfizer or Moderna. If you can get a Johnson & Johnson, get it. Go for it right away. We're having more options in the community, and it'll be better for us all if people will step up and do that. I also want to express appreciation to Dignity Health. The manager informed me today that they're going to provide vaccinations for everyone in our police department who wants it. The officers have felt kind of left behind on this in view of the fact that they interact with the public on a daily basis. So very happy for that. Very grateful to Dignity Health. SACOG continues to move forward with 12 new board members out of a total of 31. The federal budget is promising for infrastructure, as you may all have read in the news. I'd like to thank Council Member Landsberg for his report on the shelter. That was a wonderful visit. He was thoughtful enough to ask the director out there if they had needs, and that's when we learned that they really wanted book carts. And thankfully, our library had surplus book carts that they were able to get out there with books for the people at the shelter. And we had an old bike rack over at the Municipal Service Center, which was also delivered literally that day. So we want to be alert to their needs. They always can use bedding for anybody who has available sheets. They're single beds out there. So clean, gently used, or new bedding is always appreciated at our shelter. Valley Clean Energy met. We welcomed our new member, Myra, and also Josh, the new council member from Davis, Josh Desmond. So things are fine at Valley Clean Energy. I want to commend the Kiwanis, who had a successful pasta feed to raise money for philanthropy. They're the group that also provide a significant amount of money for swimming lessons for kids who could not otherwise afford them. So we salute the Kiwanis and are grateful for their successful event. On January 22nd, the neighbors on First Street south of Gibson gathered to sing happy birthday to Stella Ilola, who turned 100. And it was my privilege to proclaim January 22nd Stella Ilola Day here in Woodland. She's a wonderful person. She's the mother of Linnell Pollock, former county supervisor with whom I served years ago. A wonderful person, beloved by all her neighbors. I also listened to a Yolo County Public Defender talk on systemic racism in Yolo County put on by the King Hall School of Law at UC Davis, and also a talk on healing racial injustice through news put on by the Christian Science Monitor. This is an important topic, and as time goes by, we don't want to reduce our commitment to overcoming this problem in our society at large. I also participated in a second economic development subcommittee with Mayor Pro Tem Vega. Woodland's greatest challenge at the moment is having enough built space for those seeking to locate their industries in our community. Fortunately, industrial developer Jerry Camillus has 150 acres already within the incorporated city that he's hoping to develop. Other industrial land under his control will be proceeding to annexation, which is a first step. Now, the Woodland Tree Foundation has prepared a draft tree ordinance, which will be coming back to us probably next month. The manager and I are reviewing the draft at this time. And I'll conclude with my mayor's minute. Bad things happen occasionally, although it seems we've had a string of them over the last many months. Last week's storm was one of the worst we have had in recent decades. With winds of up to 67 miles per hour, our treescape took a real beating with consequences we had to live with for days. Around 10,000 homes and businesses were without power for up to 4 days. On the whole, our citizens handled the many inconveniences in stride, patiently waiting out the power outages. That said, most of us felt that PG&E's communications in the first 48 hours were inadequate, leaving many wondering when their situations would be addressed. Their posted outage map was eventually quite helpful. Some citizens expected more from their city, though, than we were able to give. One rider wanted emergency lighting, which was beyond our capacity when half the town was without power. Others wanted more police patrols, which we did in fact request, in view of the fact that so much of the town was in darkness. There is no evidence that a crime spike resulted from the power outage. In any event, we are alert to learning from incidents like these and welcome constructive feedback. To those who work for our city and the utility who put on their foul weather gear and go out in the storms and help keep the water draining and the pumps working and the power flowing, we can all say a heartfelt thanks. I also want to commend those citizens who reached out to others in need to make sure everyone was okay. Thankfully, it appears that we all survived the rough weather. And now, Mr. Manager.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. I want to start first by building on some of those remarks and echo how proud I am of our community and how we responded last week, even through some very trying communication challenges, but the patience and the resilience across the community was extremely impressive. Also want to express how proud I am of our staff who responded even before the event occurred, preparing our storm drain systems, making sure all the signals across our community had their backup batteries powered and ready to continue to operate should power be lost, which ultimately we did. Through this storm, we lost 32 trees across the community that fell into the public right-of-way, which we had staff working through the night and well into the next day, clearing those trees, not to mention the trees that were lost on our civic spaces as well. We had generators at critical facilities that went down, and we had staff prepared to ensure that those generators continued to operate and ensure our water systems and public safety systems were basically saw no disruption in service throughout the storm. But all that said, the event certainly exposed opportunities for us as a community to prepare better for these types of events, especially as it relates to how we communicate with our community and how they can seek whether it be electricity or support or food during these times. And we will be working with the county as well as our other nonprofit and partners in the community to make sure that when the next storm does arrive, and it will, that we can be even better prepared to respond and support the community through this. With that, I also want to let the council and the community know that this week we reopened City Hall, which we closed back in mid-December with the regional stay-at-home order, concern for spread of the virus. City Hall, while the facility was closed, services did continue. However, today we reopened City Hall, so the finance public counter as well as the community development public counter is now open to the public and no longer have to be arranged for by appointment. And then the Tech Park public meetings that Mayor Pro Tem Vega mentioned next week, we'll have 2 webinar meetings hosted Tuesday evening at 6 p.m., followed on by a subsequent meeting on Thursday at 6 p.m. So we welcome the community to participate in those meetings. And if you can't, certainly provide questions and input outside of the meetings as well. We're pushing out information in both English and Spanish to ensure that all those in our community who are interested in the project can participate. So real quick, I'll close with a peek at the long-range calendar. So our next regular scheduled meeting of the council is the 16th of February. We will have a pretty heavy agenda compared to tonight's agenda. So be prepared. We will not only have the mid-year budget update, which we want to walk the council through where we are looking at relative to where we thought we would be for this fiscal year. So look forward to giving the council an update and providing some actions for the council to make some mid-year budget adjustments. We will also be asking the council to certify the environmental impact report for the Woodland Flood Risk Management Project, which is also known as the Cache Creek Flood Control Project. So that EIR has been finalized, and we will be asking the council to certify that EIR. And then lastly, we will be presenting the council with the East Main Street Improvement Project, which is a capital improvement project the city has been working on to improve East Main Street from East Street to the I-5 interchange, improve the pavement condition, add bike and pedestrian facilities, improve signal timing of that corridor. So important project, which the plans and specifications have now been finalized and will be presented to the council for authorization to go out to bid. The council has a retreat scheduled for February 20th. That's a Saturday, and had the pleasure of been working with Mayor Pro Tem Vega and the mayor to outline that retreat. And later on the agenda this evening, they will be outlining for the full council and the community how that retreat format might differ from how we've structured it in the past, and look forward to really zeroing in on the community's priorities and council priorities in a more laser-like fashion maybe than we have in the past. And then followed on real quick, mention that March 2nd, we will bring back the Mayor Pro Tem rotation discussion, as well as the Woodland Promise Program, which is an opportunity for the city to partner with the Woodland Community College and Yuba Community College District to offer last dollar support to students that graduate from Woodland high schools and want to attend Woodland Community College. So the city is building a partnership with the community college through an MOU with them, which we look forward to presenting to the council on the 16th and ready to launch that program next fall. So with that, that concludes my remarks, and I'll give it back to you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Manager. This brings us to item I on our agenda, the consent calendar, items 3 through 7. Now, before we take it up, is there any member of our council who has a question or concern about any of these 7 items before we seek to proceed with a vote? Council, Mayor Pro Tem Vega.
Yes, thank you, Mayor Stollard. So I have a question on item 5. So this is the first contract amendment fiscal year 21 tree pruning and maintenance services. So as I read through the staff report, so it seems that like the majority of the funding of the increase is going to come out of Spring Lake's L&L fund. So this is an issue. The Spring Lake assessments is an issue that I hear about often, and something that I know the community down Spring Lake has expressed concerns with not being notified when there is an increase or a change within these assessments. So can you talk to me a little bit about how these notifications happen so that folks don't get caught by surprise, or that feel they are receiving the information? There's transparency with the community on Spring Lake?
Certainly. So let me first address what tonight's item is. We also have, looks like Wesley Schroeder, Community Services Department, as well as Kim McKinney, help fill in some of the information to make sure I get it right. But so tonight's item relative to the contract with West Coast Arborist is to amend the annual contract with them for cyclical tree pruning. As anticipated, a lot of new landscaping in the Spring Lake neighborhood came on board after the original contract had been authored. And we weren't quite sure at the time that we entered into that contract when that new landscaping in Spring Lake, which has a significant number of trees, would be coming online. So we now have that information. We've calculated how much that will cost to maintain those trees through the balance of the contract. So this action this evening amends the contract with West Coast Arborist to take on the responsibility of maintaining those new trees out in Spring Lake. As you noted, Mayor Pro Tem Vega, the funding for the maintenance of those trees in Spring Lake comes out of the Landscape and Lighting Assessment District that all the residents and the commercial properties in Spring Lake contribute to annually. That process is an annual process which occurs in April, May timeframe of every year, where we're required to, if we're going to continue the L&L, conduct an evaluation and an engineer's report that identifies all the areas of responsibility under that L&L, calculates the cost to maintain those improvements, and then puts forth via public hearing at the council what those reports conclude and how that translates to the Landscaping and Lighting Assessment District fees that would be assessed the following year to the community. So currently, again, that is an annual process. There is a notice in the paper and there's a public hearing at the council meeting. Spring Lake is not the only landscaping and lighting assessment district we have in this community. There's, Kim can correct me, I believe 5 or 6 other landscaping and lighting assessment districts. However, Spring Lake is the largest of those, as it's the largest geographic area and most area of improvement responsible. So I'll stop there and see if that answers the question you were looking at. If not, I can have Kim McKinney clarify a little bit more what the process is that we go through annually for the Landscaping and Lighting Assessment District.
Ken, I'm going to get in here. I think one of the issues is if you're going to take a certain amount of money from the Spring Lake Landscape and Lighting Assessment District for tree pruning, are those funds specifically dedicated exclusively to pruning the trees in the Spring Lake area?
Well, when the Landscaping and Lighting Assessment District costs are defined annually, it identifies, trees as part of that responsibility and assigns the cost that then informs the assessment that gets charged. The contract that's before you this evening specifically identifies the number of trees in Spring Lake that will need to be maintained, and the funds that go into that contract are exclusively set aside to ensure that those funds go to maintain the trees in Spring Lake and not trees citywide.
Thank you. Mayor Pro Tem Vega, do you have additional questions?
Just one last question. So if somebody's interested in viewing that annual assessment, is that something that is available for them to review at any time?
Absolutely. Yep. Kim, at any time, certainly they can reach out, contact myself or Kim McKinney in our finance department. Those reports are available for review, and the staff reports that went to council last year as well that provide the background analysis on those are also available.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem Vega. Thank you, Mr. Manager. Any other member of the council wish to ask a question on any of the consent calendar items? Madam Clerk, do we have any member of the public who wishes to comment on any of these items 3 through 7?
No.
Okay, with respect, council, does anyone wish to offer a motion?
I will offer a motion to adopt the consent calendar as written.
Okay.
Seconded by,
Okay, motion by Councilman Landsberg. Was that a second by our new council member?
That was actually Fernandez trying to make a second, but I'll let Mayor Pro Tem Vega take it.
She'll get another turn. We'll go ahead and take Council Member Fernandez a second. Is there further discussion on the motion? There being none, the clerk will call the roll, please.
Thank you. Mayor Pro Tem Vega,
aye.
Councilmember Fernandez,
Aye.
Councilmember Garcia Cadena,
Aye.
Councilmember Landsberg,
Aye.
Mayor Stallard.
Aye.
Thank you. Consent calendar items 3 to 7 carry 5-0 on a roll call vote.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. This moves us along then to item J, reports of the city manager. The first is our every meeting update on COVID-19 response and preparedness. Mr. Manager.
Yeah, so tonight's report will be relatively brief, and I will start with where we stand relative to case positivity and case numbers within Yolo County, and some good news. So as projected, the spike that we saw over the holiday season has sort of run its course, and over the last week, we continue to see a fairly consistent trend, albeit daily variations, with a downward trend towards an average of in the 60 to 75 new cases per day identified. And what that does is put us close to being in a position to advance to the next tier under the framework for reopening. Talking with the county staff, it appears that we could, as early as next Tuesday, be in a position to advance into the red tier, which creates opportunities for businesses to expand some of their operations, and including indoor dining as part of that. So we'll be watching that very closely, but at the same time, as always, we will caution the community to let down their guard and continue to be very diligent with their mask wearing and social distancing, physical distancing, as well as sanitation. At the same time, right, additional new energy, positive energy around distribution of the vaccine. Clouded a bit with continued confusion around how that distribution will occur. The states, shifting, it seems like almost every day as to what their strategy is going to be to deploy the vaccines in our communities. As it stands today, Yolo County continues to prioritize their allocation towards those that are in the age category of 75 plus and older. They have clinics available and appointments available for those in that age class to get the vaccine. The data supports that, that population certainly is most at risk of death from contracting the virus, and therefore the focus on that the age population. The next group is the 65 plus, and the health providers in our community have already advanced into offering vaccines to that population. Positive developments, as the mayor reported, Dignity has stepped up and offered to vaccinate our peace officers who have been sort of resorted to potentially looking at a 14-week delay from now as to when they might anticipate being able to get access to the vaccine. So I want to acknowledge Dignity's partnership there. We have also, as of today, been able to reach agreement as to how to accommodate Dignity's standing up of a vaccine pod at the community center. So Christine Engel, Community Services Director, is working with Dignity Health to work out the logistics with the hope of establishing that pod as early as the second week in February. So all positive news, but at the same time, we continue to operate with changing information out of the state and the county, and concern with many of those in our community that are either in the education field, public safety, even farm workers in our community, that at this point, there is no anticipation for when they might be able to get access to the vaccine. So continue to advocate at the county level to consider those groups as resources are available. But for now, we'll have to continue to stand by and be strong advocates to ensure that those populations are allowed to get access as quickly as possible. So that concludes my remarks on the COVID-19 update, and welcome any questions the council may have.
Thank you, Mr. Hyatt. Any member of the council wish to ask any questions regarding COVID?
I have a question, Councilmember Fernandez.
Please proceed.
Thank you, Mayor Sallard. I just have a question as far as the testing and vaccination sites. Is it possible for the city website to link those to the county at all so that people within Woodland have that information? I know I went onto the county website and I know that they have a testing site just here, I think at the juvenile hall area and one of their portables for testing of COVID in Woodland. But I just wondered if it's possible for the city to kind of provide residents with that information at all, or should they just rely on trying to find it on the county's website?
Yeah, so the city does have a COVID webpage, and I'll confirm as soon as this meeting is over that we do have that information also available on our page. And absolutely, of course, we do have links to the county's webpage, which is generally much more robust as it relates to some of the access to testing and vaccines. But we'll double check and make sure that that is available on our website and make sure it's not buried, right? Amongst all the other information that's top of mind for community right now.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any further discussion on COVID tonight? Any member of the public? Council Mayor Pro Tem Vega, excuse me.
Thank you, Mayor Sallard. So, City Manager, I have a question for you just around there. I've seen a lot of activity around the rapid testing that's available in Davis through the partnership between Healthy Davis, UC Davis, and I've been hearing a lot of buzz in the community. They were also featured in the New York Times. Just wondering if there's any discussions, or I would encourage discussions around having that be more of a regional testing, because as I think about some of the wait times for the county testing sites, I think they vary and sometimes are up to 7 days, which really impacts folks who are having to quarantine, having to take time off work. So can you speak to that, please?
Certainly. So yeah, hopefully the council is aware that the Healthy Davis Together initiative, which is a collaborative between the city, community, the university, and in their case, a very generous donor who helped fund an effort to develop strategies and resources to help that community respond to the COVID pandemic. We have had conversations starting with, could the program that they've launched there with their rapid based testing be expanded as capacity exists to first serve our first responders and medical providers in our communities. Within 2 weeks, they were able to offer to our fire staff and now our law enforcement as well, have been able to access that testing capacity. Conversations, of course, started with how soon could we grow it to all populations within Yolo County. And And Davis, and their committee have evaluated that and continue to sort of have that as an end goal. But at the moment, the ability and the capacity for their resources to serve the entire communities of Yolo does not exist. But we continue to advocate to them and offer support where needed to allow that to occur. It is the saliva-based rapid test they have is for those that are asymptomatic. So it's not for those that are symptomatic. But again, we've heard across the community and in our business community that the impacts to them when they have to quarantine employees are significant. And we hear the same stories that access to the testing or the turnaround time for getting those results are significant and create real challenges for them to continue to operate efficiently. So we will continue to advocate to Davis to see if that's something that can be opened up to our community, and optimistic that as the months here in spring advance, that we might be in a position to be part of that program.
Thank you. Are there additional questions? I might mention here, I probably should have earlier in my council members report, that I've been in conversations with the president of the Woodland Joint Unified School District Board of Trustees, Jake Whitaker, about the possibility of his board and our council sitting together when we were thinking possibly the last Tuesday of February 23rd, would be like a study session, mostly to help them in their path to bringing students back to in-person education at the schools. At this point, their major concerns are sufficient testing, frequent testing, also vaccination of teachers so that they can feel safe in the classrooms. So I just wanted to put that out there. There's no action to be discussed tonight, but give everybody a heads up that we can probably be good neighbors to our friends managing our schools. They've had a lot to put up with this year. Any other comments tonight on this issue?
Just one, Mr. Mayor. This is Rich Lansberg.
Thank you, Rich.
And just a few minutes ago, I did get a notice from actually from a school board member, that the county actually reduced the age to get vaccines to 65 just today, just a while ago. However, I tried to go online a minute ago and get an appointment, and they called it sold out. But the 4 sites, just so you'll know, starting tomorrow from 1 to 3 at Esparto Elementary School, and you don't need an appointment. It's optional, but not needed. February 4th from 1 to 4 at the Knights Landing Branch Library. February 5, 8 o'clock to noon at Wood Memorial Hospital. And February 6th, 10 o'clock to 4 p.m. in West Sacramento at Sutter House Field. So this is really new and just came out a few minutes ago. And see, I guess you don't have to have an appointment. Just go to one of those places and you'll get your vaccine. If you're 65 and over, I think, Mr. Mayor, that only probably, probably just applies to you and I.
I'll carpool with you, Rich. Let me know. All right. Has any member of the public expressed an interest in commenting on this item, Madam Clerk?
No, I don't have any.
Thank you. Okay, we'll wrap up the discussion then on COVID for tonight. Item 9 is discussion of the City of Woodland's sesquicentennial anniversary. That means 150 years since our incorporation, February 22nd, 1871. Mr. Manager, do you want to introduce this, please?
I'd be happy to. So as the mayor introduced, this year, in fact, February 22nd of this month marks the 150th anniversary of our incorporation as a city. About 10 years prior to that, the city was deemed the county seat for Yolo County. But the preceding 9 to 10 years after that, as the city continued to grow and prosper, identified the need for its community to govern itself, and the voters in the community at that time in 1871 voted in favor of incorporating and basically deeming its sovereignty from Yolo County as a governing entity, and for the preceding 150 years have operated as an independent city. With the distractions of everything else happening around us in our community, didn't want to lose sight of this significant milestone for Woodland. And in talking with the mayor, we suggested to put forward to the council consideration to establish an ad hoc committee of community members that are either historically inclined or even civically inclined to say, hey, we would like to participate with the community to identify events, identify projects, to celebrate and commemorate this milestone year. So tonight's agenda item is simply to ask the council for sort of validation of that idea, and if so, support identifying potential community members that you would like to see considered to serve on that ad hoc committee. As that committee meets, we hope to bring back individual events and projects and reports to the council that we will be potentially asking the council to consider either funding support or staff support to help execute. But I really see this as not just a city initiative. Hopefully it's really more of a grassroots effort for us as a community to celebrate 150 years of living together and another 150 years in the future. And so it's a bit of celebrating the past, taking the moment right now to celebrate all the great things that are happening in this community, but then also look forward to our future and identify a day of greater prosperity and hope ahead. So with that, I'll turn it back to you, Mr. Mayor.
Well, Ken, being the good manager you are, you immediately turned to our library and asked for information. So I'm holding up a wonderful brief history of Woodland written by Shipley Walters, who recently was honored nationally by the Daughters of the American Revolution for her lifetime of scholarship in history. And Ken, why don't you share some of the commonalities between problems we're facing today that are so similar to what they were dealing with in 1871, please?
So certainly. So, there's a great section in that book that talks about the moment in history where the community decided to incorporate, and some of the reasons why the community identified, at least in that book, voted in favor of incorporating were to deal with issues such as Main Street was crumbling and needed repair. There were scofflaws that were riding their horses on the sidewalk or too erratically down the street. There was a need for a more robust water system and failing infrastructure. Our fire resources in our community certainly needed to be robust and expanding to support our growing community. So, interesting how things have changed, but really they haven't in this community, and the themes that draw across 150 years are so parallel. It was striking. So very interesting read. Encourage anybody to take a look at that book. But those are some of the themes that we certainly hope to identify and point out how the community has grown, but at the same time, in many respects, we're very, very much the same.
I might add that at the time there were about 1,200 people living in Woodland, and 200 of them signed the petition urging the incorporation. Others opposed incorporation on the grounds that government governs best, which governs least, and their idea was no government was better than a government. But anyway, those who wanted to incorporate succeeded. So that's the idea, to have a little ad hoc committee of people who are interested in our citizens in our community to discuss opportunities for how we can commemorate this. Council members, what are your thoughts on this, please?
Mayor, I can speak up for now. You mentioned a little ad hoc committee. Yeah. And while I'm not a big fan of big committees, I think this is an ad hoc committee that does need to be reflective of our city and its diversity. I would think that this committee should be 9 to 11 members with a couple of council members on it. And I think that they need to be reflective of our civic organizations, our schools, our nonprofit organizations, the social organizations, our churches, when some of them are, I think, are about 150 years old, if not older, and business representatives, because I think that this group should have an input I also think that, and I might be out of place to say this, but you know, the fire department had 150 years in 2020. And in my opinion, they got cheated out of this celebration because of the COVID conditions. And I was thinking that maybe we could combine or add them to the celebration since they missed out on so much. They had a lot of plans. I think Eric's online here, but they had a lot of plans for this, their 150th year that they didn't get to do. So I'm hoping that this committee would think about adding the fire department and celebrate their 150th anniversary as well. And my last comment is this. I don't think there are any 150-year-olds out there, but I think that we should try to find and locate, identify the oldest community members in our city, including you mentioned Miss Iola, who's 100 years old. It'd be nice to honor all those seniors who are 100 plus in our community. That's my
Sounds to me like you ought to be on the committee, Rich. You got a lot of ideas. Are you willing?
Of course I am. But Eric, what do you think of the idea of jumping in on this bandwagon?
Yeah, I think it's a great idea. We did miss out on being able to celebrate our 150th anniversary of our organization. I know Sam Kennedy, who had a lot of robust plans in place, would be a great member to sit on this committee. I'm volunteering him right now, but I'm sure he'd be willing to and would like to be involved in that.
All right.
Thank you.
That's great. There's no reason, this does not have to be constrained in any way. I would encourage every organization in the community to kind of think, well, what's our slant on all this? How long have we been around? And everybody can celebrate their history as part of the city. This year marks my 49th year in Woodland. That's essentially 1/3 of the incorporated history of the city. And I dare to suggest that 90% of what's happened in the city has happened in those 50 years because of the escalation of activity over time, even if so many of the issues seem to stay the same. Other council members?
I have one more thought I forgot to add to my list here. And that is that I think because it's such a critical and important year, that we need to fund this properly. And so I'm going to challenge staff and city manager to find some money to fund this this event.
I appreciate you bringing that up, Rich. The city manager and I have been in discussions on this, and we have some number of things we can make special commemorations this year. Perhaps, for example, the dedication of the new Woodland Regional Park, which we hope to do publicly when we can. Can happen this year. We also, according to the city manager, need a new flagpole in front of City Hall. That could be another way we mark this anniversary. So let's just put together all these ideas and perhaps have the celebration be diverse with so many little things, maybe some big things. Okay?
Mayor Stallard?
Yes, that would be Councilman Fernandez, please.
Councilmember Fernandez, thank you. Could I just add to, thank you, Rich, for that list of including everyone. I appreciate that. I just wanted to make note of the Stroll Through History Committee, who has spent so many years gathering Woodland's history and presenting that during their September event. That might be a resource that might have a lot of the information that we're looking for. So just another added suggestion to Rich's long list of including everyone, that they might be a valuable resource.
If I could ask our city clerk, Ana Gonzalez, to kind of make a list of all of these ideas, I would really appreciate it. Thank you. Okay, any additional thoughts tonight? I'm willing to serve also. I'm just a history buff anyway, so if you tolerate me, I'd be happy to do it, but I don't want to deny somebody else who'd like to sit on the committee.
Councilmember Garcia Cadena and I would definitely be interested in participating in this. I'm actually on the board for the Stroll Through History Committee and would be very interested.
We'll designate you on behalf of the council then if that's a general agreement for my colleagues. Sounds like it. And Rich, do you want to be the other person?
I agree that I don't want to deprive another member of the opportunity, but if no one wants to do it, I mean, I'd love to do it because I think it's a big deal for our city. I've been here since 1966, and I feel like I'm 150 years old sometimes, but I look forward to celebrating this big event.
I think that's absolutely wonderful that you both volunteered. And I see smiles elsewhere in the council. So if there's no objection, you two will be our council representatives. And we'll just look forward to report backs as you're able to do it. And again, we can have perhaps some centralized efforts, and we can also have some diversified efforts that just come from various parts of the community. Does any member of the public wish to comment on this item, Madam Clerk?
No, I don't have any emails or hands raised.
Okay, thank you. Any further input from the council at this time? All right, that concludes item 9, and that brings us to our concluding issue tonight, and that's the City Council study session, a strategic planning retreat. And this is something typically the mayor helps get going, working with the city manager. And it just happened, I brought the topic up with Council Member Vega. It just hit me like a brick one day. She's involved in strategic planning for the Sutter Health System. She's a professional in the area of organizing and setting agendas and prioritizing and things of that sort for a large corporation. And I thought, she probably has been through a number of corporate retreats and knows exactly what we need to do. Having been here for 11 years, our retreats have been pretty simple affairs. But I've seen where other cities take a much more strategic approach, shall we say, and put more energy into it. And so at my invitation, she has kind of noodled on the idea and come up with a proposal to do something that is more robust and can hopefully position us to work as a team on a better defined set of goals for the coming year, if not 2 years. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Mayor Pro Tem Vega to share with us her ideas for our council retreat for 2021. Myra.
Sure. Thank you, Mayor Stollard. So I have to say it is my pleasure to be able to lead our council through this. You know, I'm very passionate about strategic planning. You know, I tell my family, if you fail to plan, then you plan to fail. So I think this is a really critical piece as we look at what we have, what we're going to be facing as a city, what our residents are going to be facing, and really take a strategic approach that will deliver us some very time-bound goals. So my colleagues, I'm looking forward to working with you, and we have an exciting retreat and study session. So I'll give a high level of what the components of the retreat will be. So we'll have 3 major components. There's going to be a pretty hefty pre-material or pre-reading packet that Ken, thank you, and staff are for putting together. So while we think about how the city's 150th anniversary is here, a lot hasn't changed, but a lot has. The community has grown. We have a wonderfully diverse community with diverse needs. And just a really different culture. So in the pre-reading materials, what the council is going to have is really a lay of the land. What is our community like today? What are some of the changes that we've experienced, some of the struggles that the pandemic has brought on? So we're going to be looking at population, languages spoken, and just really take a good look at what our community looks like. We're also going to do an inventory of our businesses and look at some of the different areas of our city. We're going to take a look at some of the services that the city offers. So again, we're going to get a very, you're going to want to carve out maybe about a week of reading time. Just kidding, maybe not a week, but it'll be packaged up really nicely to really give us all a solid understanding and briefing about what our community members are going through and some of the challenges that we may be experiencing as we come out of this pandemic. So again, staff, thank you so much for all the work that's going into putting together this comprehensive packet. And really, the reason why we're spending a lot of time and putting together this packet is so during the study session, during the retreat, where we're going to be able to really engage in dialogue and really spend a lot of time in talking about the issues, talking about the strategies. So we are going to take a look at the strategies and the goals that were set by the previous council. A lot of those still apply, but a lot of things have changed that we may want to incorporate. So the day is going to be pretty robust. It's going to be a full day. We will integrate some group work that'll allow us to have very interactive dialogue. And at the end of the day, we're going to have the strategic framework for staff to take on and develop some what I call SMART goals. So these are specific, measurable, attainable, time-bound goals that we can then bring back to council and to our community to show the progress. So something that's really important and that is key in the strategic planning is having a mechanism and a simple reporting tool that we can then bring back to hold ourselves accountable, to hold our staff, our community accountable for moving the needle, right? So you have to start with where we are now, set a strategy, and really bring that up and work towards it. So again, thank you for the opportunity. It's my pleasure, and I think you will all enjoy this. And I think our community is going to be very, very pleased, and the strategic plan is going to be the topic of future council meetings where we'll have the opportunity to report on the progress on these. So thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem Vega. Colleagues, do you have questions of Mayor Pro Tem Vega with respect to what we're going to be doing on February 20? All right. Anyone from the public care to comment on this?
I don't have anyone.
All right, thank you.
Councilmember Fernandez again.
Yes, Councilwoman.
You didn't see my hand. I don't think I raised it.
Yeah, I can only see 4 pictures at a time on my iPad. So sorry, Vicki.
Sorry. Mayor Stallard and Mayor Pro Tem Vega, thank you for all your work and planning this session. One of the questions I asked Ken earlier when we've been discussing this is the guidelines for COVID. I realized you said there'd be some group sessions and just making sure that we're keeping COVID guidelines still within our parameters when we meet. We've not been meeting in any public settings with large groups. So just wanting to make sure that we're going to make sure that we're kind of having those in the forefront as we get together. And just wanted to confirm that because that has been a concern of mine is having us in a enclosed area with—
Be assured, we are going to walk the walk as well as talk the talk. Councilmember Fernandez, we'll make sure that we have a setting large enough for plenty of social distancing. And whenever we are close to each other, we'll certainly be masked as appropriate. And we'll make sure there's plenty of hand sanitizer present as well. Okay?
Well, I appreciate that because I'm not old enough to get the vaccination. So just want to make sure that we are abiding by those guidelines and knowing that
I noticed Dr. Fauci said, just because you get the vaccination doesn't mean you don't wear the mask.
No,
you know?
No, I definitely know that. So I just want to make sure that I just wanted to voice my concern that, that is still an issue that I am concerned about us being in a enclosed setting with
others,
with members from different households.
Okay, thank you so much. We're even contemplating outdoor portions of our gathering. Myra, do you want to add anything to that, or is that sufficient coverage? Okay.
That's sufficient.
All right. Further comments? All right. Well, that concludes item 10. As we prepare to adjourn, just a couple notes. I want to acknowledge the recent news that we'll have a new editor of the Daily Democrat, Sarah Dowling, who's been on board for between 7 and 8 years now. And we know she's a hard worker and will do a great job. And we congratulate her on her selection. And Jim Smith, after 27 years, is going to step down and enter retirement, which we know will be very active, knowing Jim. But we'll celebrate him perhaps a little more at a later meeting closer to the time he ends his editorship. And just one final reminder that the Woodland Regional Park and Technology Park meetings are next Tuesday and Thursday at 6 o'clock by Zoom. And we hope everyone will participate in this important project for the future of our community. Anything else, members of the council? If not, that concludes our meeting. Thank you and good night.